Indian cities are known above all for their hectic streets. Markets teem with hawkers and shoppers. Roads are packed with cars, motorbikes and trucks, all honking their horns to escape packed traffic jams.
But anyone who thinks every Indian city is like that hasn't been to Chandigarh, with its wide-open public spaces and American-style grid system laid down by Le Corbusier, the influential but highly divisive French master planner who pioneered the brutalist movement of urban planning in the mid-20th century, and whose influence is still seen all around this city, including in the European-style piazza you see behind me.
M.N. Sharma was one of the local architects who helped Le Corbusier put his designs for Chandigarh into practice.
To my mind, it was the greatest experiment in the contemporary history of planning and architecture. And this experiment of Chandigarh, where Corbusier put all his previous experiences, this became a city for people to come and observe. And I'm glad I was part of it.
It's also a hugely symbolic city in the history of modern India. Jawaharlal Nehru, India's first Prime Minister, commissioned Le Corbusier to design Chandigarh as what he called a new city, unfettered by the traditions of the past, a symbol of the nation's faith in the future. Pradeep Singh, Deputy Dean at the Indian School of Business and a long-time resident, recalls how his parents talked of the spirit of the city's creation.
My father and mother, whenever they told me about those early days, were always very excited, very enthused about the project in which they had participated, the program led by Nehru and Pratap Singh Kairo, the then Chief Minister of Punjab. I think they all shared the enormous hope and joy of being in a free country and creating a brand new city which was going to be a symbol of free India for the world. So Corbusier was able to capture that spirit.
For local residents, however, it isn't the high-minded ideals of a free India that make the city work, but its day-to-day practicalities.
What I like more about Chandigarh is that it is a well-planned city, and wherever you go, you do not find any dirt or any, some trash over here.
Nobody can actually get lost here in the city because at every roundabout there's an indication marker.
Yet for all this practicality and its historical significance, some paint the city less charitably as a sterile home to pensioners and bureaucrats.
One of the biggest criticisms is it was built with very little anthropological insight into how people in India choose to inhabit space. So if you look at older Indian cities, not that they're necessarily a model for growth, but they had more public space in the sense of bazaars, mohallas, neighborhoods, street life that Chandigarh doesn't allow for. And so in that sense, it's very alienating. Chandigarh came from this idea that the built environment could impose a certain modernity and social order and way of thinking onto people. And I think that's problematic. So cities build on themselves, they evolve over time. You can move to a Chandigarh after you've made your fortune. You don't come to Chandigarh to build your fortune, which is very different from a city like Bombay, which gives you that upward mobility.
50 years on from the death of Le Corbusier, the debate over whether this experiment in modernity was a success still rages. But the fate of this small city in the foothills of the Himalayas is now firmly back in the Indian spotlight, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi looks to cope with a rapidly expanding urban population.
India's government plans to build 100 of what they call smart cities over the next few years to help the country cope as millions of people move from villages and into towns. But while Chandigarh remains India's most celebrated model city, whether it and its designer Le Corbusier can really become a model for India's increasingly urban future remains much more open to doubt. James Crabtree, The Financial Times, in Chandigarh.